PDP Governors Forum condemned the federal government's handling of the End Bad Governance Nigeria protests, which resulted in the loss of lives and property damage. Meeting in Jalingo, the governors demanded transparency in revenue allocation and separation of the Accountant General of the Federation from the Accountant General of the federal government. They criticized the government for blackmailing rather than addressing Nigeria's grievances and condemned the use of court judgments to resolve party leadership issues in Rivers State. The forum also expressed concerns over federal interference in Edo State's upcoming governorship elections and police intimidation of PDP supporters. Yes, sir. We are getting feelers concerning the End Bad Governance protest. And they are insinuating that the federal government should have handled it better than they did as at when it was taking place. Do you think that the federal government would have done a better job, or the federal government did what they could do as concerning the situation they found themselves as at that time? If we could start with that.
The federal government of Nigeria, in as much as I'm concerned, did not do anything, not even that they didn't do much. They didn't do anything as it concerns the handling of the End Bad Governance protests, because you could recall that the protests and its organizers had given the government a 3 weeks window, a 21-day, for which any government that is concerned about her citizenry, their welfare and security, and having also known the history of any protest in Nigeria, how it could easily snowball or hijacked, did not, cash in on the window and the latitude of time and the notices that were published. And also the organizers of the End Bad Governance protest also had their demands written. And in that demand, they never, said that they are not open for dialogue. Rather, what did the federal government do? The federal government of Nigeria, chose the opposite way of handling such and resolving such issues, which you have seen in Nigeria, by, calling political office holders to Abuja, calling the traditional rulers, and even the religious leaders in Nigeria was not left out. What we saw during the electioneering campaign, that the methods for which President Bola Tinubu ascended into power during the electioneering campaign, you saw him with rented people that claim to be the religious leaders in the nation, just to make sure that there is that picture or the light through which you could see that there is a religious balance, because of the hula baloo that Nigerians cried as concerns Muslim ticket. So he used that same mechanism or method in handling the End Bad Governance protesters and their organizers, calling on religious leaders, political opinion molders, and religious leaders. All of them went to Abuja to sit with Mr. President, and he gave them a marching order to go and interface with the people. And the question is, how many of them went home to interface with the people? We now saw politically exposed persons leave Nigeria in droves. Instead of going to negotiate with the people, or maybe the handlers of the president, calling the the people who had been making public statements, those who have been signing those communiques that they issued out, I mean the organizers of the protesters, they termed them faceless. But people we are interfacing with the media. There are people who we are giving press releases on behalf of the organizers of the End Bad Governance protest. Then the government went ahead to, what do they do is to freeze the accounts of the perceived sponsors of the protest. P2B was accused, but we had people from the north make all kinds of statements in support and for the protest, in the likes of Sheikh Ahmed Gubi and his likes. Most of the politically exposed persons in the north made statements that the protests should go on. But the government of the day, started the blame game. And what did we see again? We saw sustenance of the good governance protests that went on. Nobody harassed them. That is not how to handle it. And again, when the protests came, as PDP governors has posited, there were clampdown, there were intimidation, there was a militarization of the streets, and the police came out in their full force. We saw them in River State in their display of show of force. But good thing is that, though not taking away the violence that greeted the protests in some of the northern states, e.g. Kano State, but we saw the protesters, stood their ground to, maintain peace and carry out their message. Then those areas that we saw the hoodlums, we know the volatility and the political dynamism in the states. The federal government will not tell us that they don't know the reason why they should have anticipated the volume of escalation that happened in Kano State because of the collapsed relationship between Kwankwaso and Ganduje. During the elections we saw it, but the intelligence agencies in Nigeria normally tell us that they have intelligence reports during elections. They know the flashpoints. Why did they not realize that Kano State was to be a flashpoint during the End Bad Governance protests? Then you could also see the window for which the government would have cashed in to, interface with people and bridge the unforeseen damage that was caused during and the loss of lives. Even a police personnel lost his life. So there was a window in which they would have handled it. But they failed. Why did they fail? Because they want to, play the blame game of who is sponsoring the End Bad Governance protest and who is not. And then the End Bad Governance protest was sponsored by hunger. The rise in fuel price, which I have posited in my opening remark, that here in River State we are buying at 1,000 plus. Then the End Bad Governance protest is, is being sponsored by the flagrant disobedience of court orders, the INEC inaptitude in following the Electoral Act, the government insincerity in handling the insecurity situation in Nigeria that have made the farmers, they don't go to farm. Even if you farm, the bandits will ask you to pay tax. So these are the myriads of problems that are staring Nigerians on the face. And the Nigerians are saying, enough is enough. The miscarriage of the Nigerian votes during the last general elections, which was glaring to the blind and resoundingly, loud to the ears of the deaf. These are what necessitated the End Bad Governance protest. And the PDP government and governors, in their own light, were able to manage it in their state because they also played the blame game and said it's APC-led federal government. But what are they doing in their states is a $1 million question. The monies that are accruing to them in the increased FAC allocation, the states that are receiving 13% derivations, the states that are within the NDDC states, the governors that are receiving humongous amounts on, security votes, but their states are being ravaged by insecurity. People cannot sleep with their two eyes closed. People are being adopted and kidnapped in their homes, in the churches, in the farmlands, that farmers could not. What is even bringing the food insecurity and crisis in Nigeria? It's because people cannot go to their farms. So these are the things that the question I want to ask the PDP governors in their respective states. Before you throw the blame to the federal level, you know, over the years, we the political opinion molders and watchers have always eulogized state governors for supporting the Nigerian police in providing logistics for them. But over the last 3-4 years, you could see that that particular aphorism has died down. What are they doing with the money accrued to them in making sure that they also take the oath that the Mr. President took of the primary responsibility of any government is the security of life and property and the welfare of the citizen. What is the welfare? Shelter, food. A nation that cannot feed herself is a nation that is already plunging into crisis and collapse. Because you will eat, the citizens will eat before they talk about shelter and clothing.